Hey everybody, welcome to another uh exciting, I shouldn't say exciting. I know a lot of our podcasts ain't really probably the best as far as excitement goes. We're excited to be here with you. Uh but we're at episode 82. Um and if you missed our last podcast, we talked about going I went hunting with a neighbor, little doe hunt, and didn't get anything, but you can tune back into that and listen to episode 81, hear what happened on that, and also um want to say thanks to for the support for those of you who've been listening. And also, I got a lot of alsos. We asked for people to comment about what they want to um hear from us, or like what topics they want us to discuss. And we got a couple in, and one, hunting on private property versus not. So, or public land versus hunting private and obtaining permission. So that will be coming up in a podcast next, or the one after. So thanks for making those comments. We appreciate it. And tonight we're gonna, it may not be so much hunting oriented, but it'll be a little bit hunting oriented with some little segments. And I guess with that, we'll kind of just dive right in there. And I need to apologize because I told you that we were the struggling hunters, but I didn't tell you who the struggling hunters are. So we have, of course, me, Joe, and I got Eric on the other side. And if you
Hey
have,
guys,
yeah, that's Eric. He's on here too. Isn't just me talking, but
could have fooled me.
maybe I can just maybe shut up for a minute and let Eric talk if he had anything to say. But I won't let him talk just yet, I don't think. But if you haven't listened to us before, I'm currently in Utah, and Eric's out in Colorado, and we're using Zoom meetings to be able to put these podcasts together and give you guys something to listen to or watch, depending on what platform you are. And if you've been if you have been listening to us, you know that we've been talking about Fred Bear's 10 Commandments over the last, I guess, it'd be 7 weeks. Now this would be the 8th week because we're on commandment number 8. And and I guess with that, I'll give Eric permission to speak if he doesn't mind reading the eighth commandment of Fred Bear's.
Thanks for the permission, Joe. I appreciate that.
It's just one of those things. One of us got to be the dominator in this,
Yeah, no, you're doing a good
duo.
job. You're doing a good job on the introductions, and I approve.
Oh, well, thank you. Proceed.
Yeah, I gotta try to have a little bit of dominance myself, I guess, somewhere, right? So I gotta approve that you did a good job on the introduction.
That's true. Do you feel validated now for giving that approval?
No, not really, but I'm trying here. All right, so I'll get into the 10 Commandments of Fred Bear. The eighth one is be sure of your shot. Nothing is more expensive than regret. And I think a lot of hunters could probably, you know, uh, understand that one or relate to that one, I
Right.
guess is what I'm trying to say. And, we've all made a questionable shot here or there.
Well, as I was thinking, as you're reading through that, and be sure of your shot. It's kind of, I hate to even admit it, but like I've had an evolution of shots, or of aiming and when to shoot. Like there was a time where I was like, oh, just unload my magazine. Who cares where I'm hitting it? Because like, if I get it 3 or 4 times, I'm more than likely gonna kill it. Or like, and and I can say that that's just been a thought. Like I'll say, so I remember. I'll tell the story what got that got me thinking that way. So years ago, I was probably 14, 15, and doing this hunt, up in Idaho and hunting in this field and hunting with a buddy Jason, and we're out in the field, and he's like, "Oh, I think I saw something duck into that brush," and it was kind of like this. It wasn't like a big old farm field. It was a mountain field, and there's some brush in the center of it, and so I didn't see anything. So if I didn't see it, there isn't anything, right?
Right.
So I just kind of him hawing behind him and he's like, "We got to go push that brush because like I think I saw something." Okay. So I go up with them, and we get close, and a buck jumps out the backside of the brush, and it's running, and so we, sad to say that we took some running shots at it, but checked our shot, or where the deer was, and couldn't come across any blood, and that thing just was hauling. It never stopped, so like you can kind of tell that nothing was we didn't hit it. There's two of us shooting at it and we didn't hit it. How sad is that? But it was running. And but I remember thinking after that, I was like, yeah, just pull up and start shooting wherever the crosshairs land, like it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But now, like looking back, it's like, man, that's just so immature and like unethical and not a good hunter. But yeah, back to that, be sure of your shot. Like, how you talking about me being domineering over you and taking away your confidence and talking and whatnot, but like,
Yeah.
how much confidence does it give you when you do have your shot placement good, and when you pull the trigger, like when you just feel so good about it and
Oh yeah.
confident that the deer or the elk's going to drop.
Yeah, there's nothing like it. Well, especially after you pull the trigger and it does exactly what you were hoping it does and drops right then and there. I mean, I've had a couple of those shots where, I pulled the trigger and just all I could see in the scope was that deer just hitting the turf, if lack of a better word. And you're like, yeah, like
Right.
it's an awesome feeling. Don't have to track it or anything like that. I've definitely been a part of those parties, and that's not always fun either.
Right.
But yeah, shot placement is everything, and I think as you get older, because I mean I've done the same thing as you. See a buck 1,000 yards away, and like, oh, I'll just aim up above his horns,
Right.
you know, and take a couple shots or more, and you know, luckily, you don't get it. Just deer kind of
Right.
looks at you like, what the heck's going on down there? And
Right.
yeah, I've definitely had that, in hopes that I would hit it, but I mean, it was immature, and that's why I kind of, I know it's getting more popular now, like these long range shots, but I always cringe whenever I hear it. I mean, look, if you're good enough and you're confident enough, I mean, good for you. But yeah, I mean, I've done those, and just looking back, I'm like, man, it's such a risk, because if being so far away, if you injure it and it runs off, and then by the time you get there, I mean, tracking it is going to be a nightmare. And
Right.
you know, I mean, I will hang my hat on the fact that most of the time, whenever I took those long shots, like I said, I was aiming up above the horns or whatever, and
Well, another thing
you know,
too is, you know, didn't have probably a rangefinder. So like one of the things I've learned is, since I've been playing around with the rangefinder, is like a 300-yard shot. I think I was guessing those out to like 400 or 500 yards.
yeah, yeah, that's the problem too, for sure. Is definitely that is, you're like, oh, that's only 300, I could do that. And then yeah, like you said, they're more like 5 or 6, or
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, it could get dangerous real quick, especially if you don't have a rangefinder to know what you're doing exactly.
Right.
So, I hope that one day I get better with, start working on those long range shots and start getting better at hitting my target and everything. But
Right.
man, 1,000 yards, or even 500 to 1,000 yards is, I'm like, man, there's a lot of risk there, you know.
Yeah, there's a
I
lot
mean,
that goes
you know,
into
and that's
it.
just my personal preference. I mean, anybody that does it, I mean, good for them, especially if you're
Well,
successful. But I do think there's a little bit of risk there,
right. Well, that's like the one thing, you go back to that number eight, be sure of your shot. And like usually I hope whoever's taking those long range shots, like they are sure of it. Like, you got that confidence of what your gun, because man, sorry, I'm him hawing around. I get talking, and then like I get all these thoughts. I can't get rolling in, and I get thinking what I was trying to get out of that, and that jumbled up words was guns these days. Like you can drop the coinage on a rifle that out of the box can shoot that far.
oh yeah.
And then there's
Well,
you that needs to get that confident too.
yeah, and the scopes too. I mean, the scopes that they have today are awesome. I mean,
Right.
I don't have that good of a scope, so I'm not gonna try those shots quite yet. But maybe one of these days, whenever I get a better setup, you know, maybe I'll at least have the confidence. I don't know. I mean, I guess I could change my opinion if I invested the money and the time into doing all that. But I know. I mean, I don't know the way I grew up, you know, and I think you grew up similar. I mean, I still have a tendency to do it now. You know, everybody likes to zero at 200, and I'm still zeroing at 100, and
Right.
um, you know, I don't know. That's just kind of the way I was raised to do it, you know, and adjust from there. I don't know. I mean, I don't think I'm necessarily wrong. It's just the way I do it, and
Right.
but yeah, I mean, I think the worst thing is making a shot, and I mean, technically, you know, I mean, we're picking on long range shots, but technically, I mean, you could do it even on a closer range shot too. I
Right.
mean, you know, it's
Well,
there's
I
no
guess too, like kind of what we've been saying is, being sure of your shot like that, where it seems like you jump out to those long range because like, yeah, like there's a lot that can go wrong between you and that 800-yard marker out there, whatever
for
you're
sure,
shooting at, fairly easy. But yeah, like even getting that confidence up to 100 yards, sitting there and be like, oh no, I got this. Like I can breathe. I can get my shot placement in there. There's a lot to be said. Being sure of your shot
mm-hmm.
more than just pulling the trigger.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, I guess that goes back to like practice, and that's probably what that's more reflecting too is you know your shot placement, but kind of making sure that you practice enough to be confident in your shot.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, because yeah, to me, there's nothing worse. I mean, look, if you injure something, and you know, I've done it. I mean, injured something and had to go looking for it, track blood, and um,
Right.
you know, either
Well, that's
finish the finish it off or
right. And that's like the second part of that commandment is there nothing is more expensive than regret. And you just said it right. You just how you just feel so bad. You don't now, like getting older and stuff. Like you don't want something to suffer any more
no,
than it has to, and you're not out. That's not the purpose of being out in the woods, is to have that happen. You want that confidence. And it's kind of funny, we jumped to shooting long range and rifles, but you can say the same thing about archery hunting.
oh for sure, yeah,
Like you're shooting a shorter distance, but like more can go wrong in your shot archery hunting than rifle hunting. Easier, I guess I should say.
yeah, yeah. Archery, I mean, archery. There's a lot of variables there too. I mean, if you don't have enough thud in your, you know, I mean, if that elk's just barely out of range, you know, I mean, you might just injure it. Well, I'll just go to my experience this year. Some of you guys probably already heard it, but my experience this year, you know, the way it worked out, I'm so bummed the way it worked out. But then at the other end of it, I'm so grateful that it worked out this way, because if I was gonna not hit the vitals, I'd rather completely miss, and I completely missed right in front of his chest, and I'm so glad that it went that way instead of hitting his leg or something and just probably wouldn't make it through the winter if I would have done that. So I'm
Right.
so grateful for that. But yeah, I live with regret of missing. But I mean, man, I'd have so much more regret if my story was I hit him in the front shoulder and
Right.
never did recover him.
Yeah.
I mean,
Like it's funny that he uses the word expensive. I don't. It's definitely not a monetary thing or a money thing that he's referring to. It seems it's more like a mental thing he's referring to.
for sure. I mean, well, I feel like it kind of goes outside of hunting too. With
Right.
other things with life. Whenever I mean, be sure of your shot. Like you've probably done stuff in your life where you just barely missed. Metaphorically, you barely missed in life, and you know you still regret it to this day, or you wonder about it.
Right.
And well, I'll just kind of go this, like me and Joe doing this podcast, for example. You know, we've a lot of the reason we've done it is because we want something more in life. We don't want to live with regret. We talked about doing a podcast slash YouTube channel for a while before we started it, and it was kind of like, either do it or get off the pot kind of thing. And we decided to do it because we didn't want to live with that regret of not doing it and wondering what could have been. And
Yeah. Well, I think
I
like every year, like we what do we hunt 2 years together before we finally started doing something.
I think so.
And like like every year, like, oh, we should be doing something with this, and like not it's not like we go out and like actually put on a big production of hunting, evidently because we're still unsuccessful.
Yeah.
um but and when this is something that we want kind of in our lives, and going through life and see, like, we're not getting any younger, and you want something more part of your life, you got to start doing it. So
Yeah.
that's kind of the route we like. We got a platform that we can use, and let's see what happens.
Yeah. And I mean, like a lot of the time, like we're trying to we're trying to build that path as we go, and we're trying to, like, you know kind of like, where's that path going? And right now we're like, I don't know, man. We don't know where the path is going exactly, but we just know that we're just like building it one brick at a time, if you will, and just trying to get to that next level, get to that next spot. But I mean, I feel like we said it in the past, but like Joe said, is we'd sit there and talk about hunting, and we talked about doing podcasts, YouTube, and stuff, and we'd sit there and talk about hunting, and it's like, man, we just need to, like, put this on a platform, like, do something with it. We're always talking about it. We might as well share it with other people, and that's how we kind of got here. Is just something that simple, but it was also something that I know, you know, for me, I wanted to just kind of live, and just try it as far as, let's do a podcast about hunting, try to make some videos, and see where it goes and see what happens, and at least it's something that, like, we won't regret to bring
Right.
it. You like how I brought that back?
Uh-huh.
Uh huh.
But
But
sorry, I was gonna say, like, there's a lot that goes into that too, as far as regrets go, and being expensive, because like, as far as life goes, there's stuff that comes up, and it always gnaws at you, and you can and sometimes better too. Like a situation comes up, and you're like, I probably shouldn't, but I'm going to, and then then you look back like, I knew better.
yep,
And it eats at you. So it's trying to, or maybe you didn't quite fully know, but they always try. I guess that's why, kind of come back full circle, the struggling hunters. That's why it came about, is because to be truthfully honest, is we struggle and we kind of shoot ourselves in the foot a lot, and create regrets, and but we wanted to learn from them. So that's the honest truth. We're the struggling hunters, and we're working through our regrets, and we want to take our regrets and use those to better our life.
100%. Yep. I second that. I I think that as time goes on, I know that we're gonna start getting that success. We're gonna start finding our way and sharing those successes, and yeah, it's just been a struggle the last few years, but I know it's coming around. Hopefully this weekend. Speaking of
True. Yeah. This
success,
weekend. Yeah.
Joe's gonna come down, and I hopefully next week on the next podcast we'll be talking about a little bit of success. But yeah, Joe's coming down to hunt with me, so it should be fun. Hopefully we can make a little video out of it or something and make it a whole thing.
Yeah. Give you guys something to watch out in the woods versus sitting at our tables or at our chairs.
Yep, yep. Yeah, it'll be exciting. It'll be exciting. But yeah, man, I think I don't know if we've harped on it enough or not, but one last thing that I have anyway is just kind of like it says, be sure of your shot. Just be sure of what you want to do. I think that was another thought that went through is you know we we haven't always been sure of what we wanted to do, and kind of found ourselves, like, career wise and everything else, kind of doing stuff that we're like, how we end up here, and I think it happens with a lot of people. And this is kind of our step of trying to better ourselves, and I mean, we don't know where this podcast and this YouTube thing is going, or this hunt thing. I mean, right now it's just fun. We're just talking about our passion. Hopefully one day, we get a little bigger to where we can make something more of it, and kind of really start living it, to where we got to be out. Our work day really does consist of clocking in out in the middle of the woods, and
Yeah.
clocking out with some
Correct.
game on our back.
Correct.
I mean, that's kind of the goal, I guess, or the hope. But if it's not there, then we're just kind of struggling hunters, have families, work, have jobs, and trying to do the best we can, be the best weekend warrior hunters we can be, and just talking about what we love to do, and trying to figure out how to be better every year, and make the most of our time. Being weekend warriors with the hunting scenario. I mean, you got to really make the best of your time and make the most of it. And
And I think, cut you off right there before I lose my train of thought and kind of regrets, is kind of wanted to say, the whole weekend warrior thing, and as we've been learning this last year and a half of doing these podcasts, making the little changes, and and it probably doesn't come quite across through the podcast, but just the doing hunt, trying to change our hunting tactics has helped. I'd say me and Eric to an extent, and then I know it probably hasn't been able to be relayed properly through podcast form. Um, and we have nothing really to show for it other than us telling you there's something, but it's trying to live that kind of weekend warrior life to become successful at our hunting game,
yep.
and trying to build those skills, or that checklist, if you will, of what needs to be done to better yourself on your weekend. Because like, we sometimes we get up to 5 days off or maybe a week, but even then, evidently that's not long enough for us to to be
Seal the deal.
successful. Yeah, to seal the deal. But I feel like we are trying to make those little tweaks, that changing those habits of how we go through the woods and what we're looking for, to be successful, and they are. Like no, you guys, like we said, we've had kind of a little bit more run in with elk this year than we've had in the past couple of years, and
Yeah, yeah, that's what I was gonna say is like, or I was gonna add on to what you were saying is we've over the years, it seems like every year we've gotten closer. Now we, like Joe was saying, we haven't necessarily tagged and bagged, but yeah, I mean this year was kind of successful in certain areas. I mean, it doesn't feel like success in some ways because we didn't tag and bag, but uh, we definitely had more opportunity. And I guess what I'm trying to say is we put ourselves in better positions than we probably ever have in the past, and had some closer calls, or you know or run-ins or whatever. I mean, whatever it is, but I feel like we're like right there to like really getting
right,
getting
yeah,
what we've been working so hard at trying to get. We're right there to getting it. And
and kind of, I guess, I don't know what kind of my last thoughts, and you know about the whole regret thing and being expensive, and and I know it's a learning curve, but like this year, like when I had my elk bugling fest, I'll call it, because mostly because I had elk bugling at me for the first time in my bow hunting career, but and not understanding where the elk were in their season, meaning post rut, pre rut, and whatever that was, and you know having the elk bugle after I bugled, and my only thought was, like, oh, they're bugling, I got to keep bugling.
yeah,
Yeah, they're bugling to see where I was at, not like coming into me. So they were going the other direction because it was still the pre-rut, and they weren't really all hyped up yet. And I should have just started cow calling instead of turning in with my my bugle tube.
yeah,
That's a regret that like I didn't quite clue into, or a regret of not understanding where the elk were. I should have known that, but I didn't get that through my thick skull where the elk were at that time. So that's an example, I guess, of in a way I guess it is kind of an expensive regret, because in a way I had to eat a tag and spend all that gas money to get out to where I was hunting, to come back kind of with the story. Like I love telling stories, but it'd be nice to have something to show for it.
yep, yep. I yeah, same here. I mean, right. Speaking of the Callin thing, it was my first year that I could really do a lot of calling. That's since it was my first archery season. But I wish I would have been more aggressive with the calling myself earlier in the season. Blow on that cow call a little more, and and then later in the season just not be afraid of the bugles.
Right.
Uh, but one thing, and it was really weird over here in Colorado, especially. Our season starts kind of when the rut's getting going, or when the season first starts. They say that they're not quite going quite yet, but then it gets better and better as the month of September goes on. And so one thing they were telling that I was hearing a lot, like through podcasts, or is, well, don't call unless you hear calls. And so I was really quiet through most of the hunt season because I wasn't hearing a whole lot of calls, so I didn't want to blow it out. But I feel like I kind of walked away with a different perception. Now, in the future, I might change my perception, but I feel like next year, like I need to kind of force the issue a little bit, and just uh, early in the season, just try to cow call and be it. I don't want to be overly aggressive, but let them know I'm out there. Let them know that I'm a I'm a hot mama,
Right.
and 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 then like later on in the season though, whenever when that mid season, not be afraid of blowing on that bugle tube a little bit. This year, I mean, that last weekend, whenever they were quote unquote supposed to be the hottest during the rut, I know that one night, I mean, they woke me up in the middle of the night, and I was like, oh, it's gonna be so good. And then during the day though, they just were not making noise at all. And I mean, I literally woke me up from my camp in the middle of the night, and I was like, oh man. I mean that waking up and hearing that was exciting. But during the day, they just were not too active. They just were not. I mean, they were resting, I guess.
Right.
And so yeah, I mean, one of my regrets is that I just wasn't more aggressive with that. Like so next year, if they happen to flip it and they're more chatty during the day, well, I guess I'd still be aggressive with it. But I feel like if I hear them going off at night like that, maybe I need to force the issue a little bit more because I know that they're probably going to be a little more quiet during the day. That
Right.
was my perspective, anyways. This year is it seems like if they're blowing and going at night, during the day they might not be so amped up. They might be kind of late bedded up.
Right. True.
So try to kind of force the issue, I guess is what I'm saying. Or at least try it one day or 2 days or whatever. If that doesn't work, then maybe shut up and not do it. But I don't know, man. That's the thing with elk hunting. That's the thing with all kinds of hunting. I mean, that's why they call it hunting and not killing, is because you know every time you think you got something figured out, they kind of show you different.
Right. Right.
So,
True.
but yeah, I don't know. I kind of going on a rant there. Don't know quite where I was going, but
Did you
hopefully
regret
it's. I don't regret that rant.
it?
No,
Good.
I
It's expensive if you did.
yeah 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 no man, I just think that all of this, like, I mean, just life in general, hunting. There's a lot of things that can get you down and make you want to regret stuff, but sometimes you just gotta just dig past it and keep pushing forward. You
Eat your
know,
favorite candy bar and keep going.
eat your favorite candy bar, keep going. And just get her done. Sometimes the simplest phrases are the most meaningful, and just get it done.
Yeah.
Get it done. I mean, that's all you can do. And I mean, that's with this podcast, with hunting, with our personal lives. We're just trying to get stuff done. There's little hurdles that come along our way sometimes. Um, to have a second of vulnerability. I've been kind of going through some stuff, but I mean, it's not a big deal or nothing. It's just trying to mostly find motivation and stuff, and feel like I'm kind of digging myself out of it. But it is like a little bit of regret. Every day that I don't accomplish something, that one of my goals, I'm like living with that regret and digging at me. And then the next day I'm like, well, gotta get it done today, and then I don't get it done, then I have that regret. I'm just missing my shot. I'm not sure of my shot, so I'm living with that regret. And I don't know. You just gotta dig yourself out of it, get her done, keep moving forward. Don't have time to mope around about it. Just keep moving forward. I know that was a long-winded little rant, but I'm trying to motivate some people. Dang it.
Are you motivated?
Yeah. I think I'm more trying to convince myself than anybody else, but
That's
still.
all that matters.
Shit.
But I don't think I have anything else though, as far as what we have tonight.
Yeah, that's perfect. I'll just go ahead and get us out of here. Guys, like Joe said in the beginning, whenever he didn't let me talk for the longest time, uh, thanks for listening, tuning in. We're on the background of things. We're really trying to figure out ways to get better, get more exciting with our podcasts. Some of the things are kind of more future, or not just the podcast, but our channel and our platform in general. We're just trying to think of exciting ways to help grow this channel. And so, all you guys that listen every week, some of you new guys that are giving us a shot. I mean, just thank you guys so much for doing that. Don't be afraid to share the podcast with somebody. That's one of the better ways that we can grow. And hopefully we can keep bringing awesome content. Like I was saying with the background of stuff, we're really working on stuff to get us to another level. We're just kind of waiting on some things to fall into place, and I think you guys will see that whenever it comes. So with that said, guys, thanks for giving us another listen to. Share the podcast, like the podcast, subscribe to the podcast, and we will see you in the next one. This is the Struggling Hunters. We're out.
Bye.